People like you don't belong here. The words sliced through the air with a quiet cruelty that somehow echoed louder than any shout. I froze for a second, my hand still resting on the glass display that held the watch I had personally approved for this store months ago. Under the soft spotlight, the polished silver glimmered like it knew exactly what was happening and hated it as much as I did. My name is Jordan Bennett, and on paper, I own this store, this entire luxury chain, actually. But standing there, in a black jacket, plain sneakers, and a cap pulled low over my eyes, I wasn't Mr. Bennett. I wasn't the man investors wanted to shake hands with, or the entrepreneur Forbes had written articles about. I was just a black man in casual clothes, lingering too close to something expensive, and that was all it took. The fall breeze of New York still clung to me as I had stepped inside earlier, hoping to quietly observe how customers, especially customers who look like me, were treated when I wasn't announced in advance. No camera crew, no entourage, no seven-figure aura, just me, stripped down to the version of myself that the world always sees first, the version they judge before I open my mouth. From the moment I walked in, Richard Cole, the franchise owner of this location, watched me like I was a smudge on the glass he wanted to wipe off. Richard was in his mid-50s, pale, well-fed, with a cheap kind of confidence that came not from success but from feeling superior. His smile vanished the moment he saw me, replaced by a subtle tightening of his jaw that told me everything I needed to know about how this visit was going to go. I tried to ignore it at first. I even asked politely, "Can I see this model?" When the watch caught my eye, a limited edition piece. Clean lines, Swiss movement. Something I had chosen because I wanted every store to carry at least one item that embodied quiet excellence. Richard walked over slowly, like every step was a reminder that he was the gatekeeper here. His eyes dragged across my outfit again before he finally spoke. "That watch is a limited edition collector's item, very high-end, very exclusive. I don't think it's what you're looking for." His tone said the rest. "It's not for people like you." I forced a calm breath. "What makes it special?" He sighed, as if explaining it was a burden. "Fine craftsmanship, rare materials, only a few pieces worldwide. It's priced at $122,000. He let the number hang there, waiting for me to choke on it. I didn't. "Seems reasonable for what it offers," I said. Richard blinked, confused that I hadn't backed away. Then came the tightening in his eyes. The small smirk, the little head tilt, every nonverbal sign of a man preparing to insult me under the guise of professionalism. "Well, before we go any further, I'd need proof of ability to pay. We can't let just anyone handle pieces like this." There it was. Not even sugar-coated, not even wrapped in fake courtesy. Straightforward discrimination, delivered with the confidence of someone who assumed there would never be consequences. I returned the watch gently to its stand, feeling a mix of irritation and an old, familiar ache. If I were 19, a gangry, hot-headed, exhausted from being profiled in malls and grocery stores, I might have snapped, but I wasn't that kid anymore. I'd built empires since then, sat in boardrooms, signed deals with companies that once wouldn't even interview me. I had learned patience, strategy, control. So it's policy to ask customers for proof before answering questions. I asked softly. "It's policy," he answered with a thin smile, "to protect the integrity of our brand. This environment is curated. We have to make sure customers fit it. Fit it." A word thrown like a dart, aimed to land exactly where he wanted. I stared at him for a moment, letting the weight of his meaning settle. "I understand," I finally said. He nodded, satisfied he had put me in my place. I walked toward the door without another word. The small chime rang as I pushed it open, letting the cool city air wash over me. Fifth Avenue moved around, motorists laughing, taxis honking, people rushing by with shopping bags from stores I owned or competed with. No one knew what had just happened inside. No one knew that the man who had been treated like a potential thief was actually the owner. I stopped on the sidewalk and looked back at the storefront. The gold letters gleamed proudly under the afternoon light, spelling out the brand I had built from nothing but stubbornness, vision, and the belief that luxury didn't need to be laced with prejudice. I wanted my stores to be a safe space, a fair space, a place where a kid from the Bronx could walk in and feel the same welcome as a CEO from Wall Street. But clearly, my message hadn't trickled down to every corner. Richard's words replayed again. People like you don't belong here. Maybe he thought he'd taught me a lesson today. Maybe he thought he'd protected the image of the store. What he didn't know was that tomorrow, when I came back not as a nameless black man in a jacket, but as the owner, the lesson would be his to learn, and he wouldn't forget it. Not ever. Because today, he tried to make me feel like I didn't belong. Tomorrow, he'd learn exactly whose name was on the deed, and who truly didn't belong in my store. The next morning, I walked in wearing the same jacket, same sneakers, same cap. The only thing different was the man beside me, Daniel, my head of legal, dressed in a sharp gray suit and holding a slim leather folder under his arm like it was a sword. I didn't need him for legalities. I just wanted someone to witness it. Inside, everything looked the same. The marble still gleamed, jazz still whispered through the air, and Richard Cole. He was standing in the same spot behind the glass counter, perfectly unaware of what was coming. He glanced up, and his expression twisted in that same flicker of disapproval. He didn't recognize me. Not yet. His eyes paused on Daniel, then back to me. Like trying to figure out how a guy like me could afford to bring a man like that into this space. I almost smiled. We walked up to the same display case. I let my fingers rest on the glass again, just as I had yesterday. I'd like to see the $122,000 watch again, I said softly. Richard stiffened. You again? He looked me over with visible annoyance. Look, I told you yesterday. I know exactly what you told me yesterday. I cut in, my voice calm. But today, I'm not here to shop. Then why are you here? His tone was clipped, defensive. A man who'd gotten comfortable being the most powerful person in the room, and now sensed something shifting. I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out my black leather wallet, and flipped it open to reveal my corporate ID, embossed in silver, clear as day. His eyes locked on the name, Jordan Bennett, founder and CEO. The color drained from his face like someone had pulled a plug. No, he whispered. That's not possible. It's very possible, I said, not moving my gaze. I built this brand from the ground up. That exclusive environment you're so proud of. It was never meant to exclude people like me. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Daniel stepped forward and handed him the folder. Inside, Daniel said coldly, you'll find your termination notice, effective immediately. You've violated company policy on discriminatory conduct and breached our core values. You don't understand, Richard stammered. I didn't mean anything personal. You judged me by my skin, I interrupted, before you ever heard my name. You didn't just humiliate me. You proved that this store has become hostile to exactly the kind of people we claim to serve. Other employees began to peek around shelves, sensing something unraveling. A few customers nearby had stopped pretending to browse, watching with wide, curious eyes. Richard tried one last time. Please, he whispered. This job, I've given 10 years, and in one moment, you told a black man he didn't belong. That erases everything. He stood frozen, hollow. I nodded to Daniel, who escorted him toward the back office. Richard didn't fight it. He just walked, head low, like a man finally seeing the mirror for the first time. I turned toward the young employee behind the front register, a black girl, no older than 20. Her curly hair pulled back into a neat bun, her eyes filled with something between shock and awe. What's your name? I asked. Maya, she said, voice trembling slightly. Maya, you're in charge for now? Someone from corporate will be here by the afternoon to assist. Until then, take care of the store, and treat every customer like they belong here, no matter how they look." Her lips parted, then curled into the most honest smile I'd seen in weeks. "Yes, sir," she said. I walked out into the morning light of Fifth Avenue, the city buzzing around me. I didn't need to say anything dramatic. I didn't need revenge. I got something better. I got clarity. In this country, in this world, people will always try to tell you where you don't belong. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is quietly remind them that you own the room they're standing in. And as the gold letters of my name caught the sun one more time, I knew one thing for sure. I never needed to prove I belonged. They just needed to be reminded